I've just finished watching Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I can't quite believe what I've just enjoyed right now, so I'm going to take a few minutes to compose my thoughts and then I'll come back. Hopefully I'm then going to make more sense than I otherwise would just rambling off immediately. So I'll run the movie collector opening and I'll see you in a few moments. The Final Reckoning was directed by Christopher McQuarrie. It came out in 2025, so to get the 4K UHD release in 2025, it feels rather special. A blockbuster of a film, but let's have a look at how it currently stands in the box office. According to IMDb, they estimate a budget of $400 million and a worldwide gross of just under $600 million. I don't know if that's what the makers were expecting, but it possibly could be, because you would think with a budget of 400 million, what a ridiculous sum to put into any movie these days, but must have had extreme confidence in this, supposed to be the final chapter in the Mission Impossible series. But maybe they were banking on it getting $1 billion. I can't imagine that, but I think perhaps they're so confident in this film that the streaming channels, cable, television, the home video market, everything else that goes towards making a film profitable these days, I think this one, they're confident because they know it's going to go on for years. And I think in the end, this one will be a massive success for the makers and the studio. It's the fourth Mission Impossible film that Christopher McQuarrie has directed. He did the last one, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and he also directed Fallout and Rogue Nation. I did think Fallout and Ghost Protocol were the best of the Mission Impossible series until The Final Reckoning came along. This one might take things to a new level. I will have to watch these films again one day in order to decide, because sometimes when a film surprises you, and I didn't have many people telling me this was wonderful. However, it was Andy at Electric Geek who did a review of this release of The Final Reckoning with his steelbook, convinced me to just get out and get it. Unfortunately, I got the last steelbook in a local branch of HMV. So it was Andy, but also I had a comment on my channel that said, I think The Final Reckoning may be the best of the whole Mission Impossible series. And I thought, well, this is encouraging. We're getting some good reports about The Final Reckoning, so perhaps I will really enjoy it. And so really pleased I picked up on these positive vibes that were coming from the people that really liked it. Now, it's got an aspect ratio of 2.40 to 1, but it does shift to 1.90 to 1. This is for faux IMAX cinemas, so they can have the taller aspect ratio. I can't go 1.9 to 1 in here without reducing the image size overall, so I get the full height of the 1.90 to 1. So what I did was I opened the screen to its full width and height, and I think that must be about 2.1 to 1. So in order that I wasn't getting excessive overspill of the image that might distract us, I put some black bars, some black card on the porthole here. I've taken them down now, but I put some black bars on the porthole to see if I could just minimise the overspill of the image onto the black velvet masking. Didn't quite get it right with the bottom mask, but that one isn't so much of a problem. That is the really deep black velvet, and it absorbs just about everything. One of the masks at the top is a slightly later black velvet, and it's not quite such good quality, and things do sharp on that, so I masked this off successfully. Some of the daylight sequences, the shots of the biplanes going down that river valley in South Africa, well, here's a use of a word I don't use very often, stunning. They really are stunning. You just look at the scenery, the way the pilots are flying the planes, Tom Cruise hanging off. I mean, crazy. Who on earth would do this? He must be the modern Buster Keaton of today's age, but I don't think even Buster Keaton would have been quite this nuts to do what Mr. Cruise is doing. But staggering to look at, and the imagery overall, a lot of it actually is in sort of darkness. It's in low light conditions, so the image quality isn't brilliant in those, but it was shot in a combination of 6K and 4K. But apparently, and Andy at Electric Geek made me aware of this in his review, there's one shot that was anamorphic 35mm. I thought, it will be interesting if I can spot that. Well, I didn't, but I did spot some 35mm in here because there are a lot of flashbacks, and I can't remember exactly where all those flashbacks are, but certainly in the opening 23 minutes, because in that opening, just before the credits run, it's 23 minutes before you get the opening credits, there's a lot of flashbacks and exposition, and that's to outline the story, to fill you in on what went before, and to make you feel like this is the conclusion and this is going to be a thrill ride where you'll be on the edge of your seat from beginning to end. Now, there are some dialogue sequences throughout, there has to be, but I found them rather compelling, and I think it's the score that helps that. It's not only the Lalo Schifrin, but the two composers that did the score for this. It's a compelling score, and it gives you a sense of foreboding and tension all the way through. Really does help the imagery on screen, and particularly the action. But even when there isn't the action, you just feel like we are facing the end of the world here. How is this going to end? Well, I think we all know how it's going to end, but it's just served up with such verve and sophistication that I got drawn into it, and I was prepared to accept I was watching a sort of ridiculous, fun action adventure, and I just went with it. I loved it. So even though it's not the best 4K UHD image quality you're ever going to see, when it does open up for those 1.90 to 1 in broad daylight shots, it is very nice to look at. It's all nice to look at. It's got a filmic look to it, but don't expect anything like Tenet or one of the genuine IMAX films. Now, the sound. I haven't exactly been complaining about these home video near field mixes that we've been getting since around the year 2000 apparently for many, if not most, home videos and streaming. I can understand why home video authors now and people who do the mastering and the sound mastering, they've got to be careful because there are so many tiny systems out there that are at risk with some of these soundtracks. Now, I would love to know what Andy Summers thinks of the sound on this. I think he's done a video and I can't remember what he said, but I would hope that even he's happy with the Dolby Atmos sound on this. Maybe not knowing Andy, but the bass in here was terrific. Now, I wouldn't advise everyone plays it quite as loud as we did. Not that it was really loud, but the room was shaking a bit, or I should say the house was shaking. You could hear other rooms with things vibrating. So the bass on this is excellent. The surround sound, Dolby Atmos, but I'm using THX, or I'm decoding into THX 5.1, so very similar to Atmos with the way it puts the sound all around the room. And it was sensational, really did make the most of the imagery on screen, and the score too that I mentioned. It all comes together and makes for one special thrill ride that I can't quite believe how much I've enjoyed this after Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I enjoyed but didn't really have a real villain. You didn't feel that menace, that foreboding, and somehow in this they've got that right. So it's the same villain, they're still after this AI nonsense, but it all seems to work. I don't quite know how they've pulled it off, but I was convinced, I went with it, and maybe it was the slight disappointment in the not having the villain, not having the ending in Part 7, and this one, right from the start, you know they're going for the exposition. So get this cast member to say this. He wouldn't say that. We'll get him to say it. We've got to move it on. It's a bit like that, but I accepted it all, went with it, and in the end, watching Tom Cruise do these stunts, the man's just incredible. He's in his mid-60s now, I think, and how on earth he's still doing this? I hope he doesn't do this much longer, for God's sake. But there we are, an incredible film. Now, the special features. There's a commentary, a couple of commentaries on this. One, Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise. I haven't listened to any of them, but there's another one as well. But there's also the isolated score. And so I ran the opening again on our telly just to check the isolated scores and listen to the music. No dialogue or sound effects or anything else. Just before those opening credits roll. And I thought, cool, you could watch the whole film like this and just enjoy the score. So that's quite unique. I've never noticed that before. But the extras, you're not told in here how long each of them are. So I've actually written them down for you. Stand by while I pull the menu screen up and I'll talk you through them. The first one is behind the scenes. I'll come back to that. Editorial content, deleted footage montage, 9 minutes 35, Olifants River Canyon, 9 minutes 11, Biplan Transfer, 4 minutes 3. And then we go to promo spots. You hit play all and the total is 3 minutes 23. Galleries, You hit play all, you've got 13 minutes 51. You go back to behind the scenes, which I thought was going to be an all-in-one, but I think there's 5 of them here. Play all, 17 minutes 3. So that gives a total of approximately 57, 58 minutes. They're all on the Blu-ray disc, and that is all that's on the Blu-ray disc. I think I should just mention some of the amazing locations, in particular the Norwegian Arctic Circle out in the snow, just beautiful, and also the river valley in Olifants River Valley, I think it's called, in South Africa. Beautiful shots, absolutely stunning to look at, compelling to watch. I found it tense all the way through and I loved it. It cost me £34.99 from HMV, this steelbook, and I would recommend this UHD release to anyone. Right, one thing before I go. Namok has been leaving a lot of comments on my channel since he discovered me a short time ago. He wants to see the 35mm opening title card from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So to keep Namok happy, that's not his full name, here is that title card. And I know a lot of people ask me this, I've never said it in a video. The opening movie collector you see, I used to have more of it on the openings, but I've cut it short. Those are the teaser trailers on Reel 1 of The Phantom Menace before this title card and the film runs. So there you are, there's a little secret that I've been keeping for the last 5.5 years. Yeah, 5.5 years. Where does the time go when you're having fun? Right, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, perhaps subscribe if you haven't already. Until the next one, bye bye for now.